Oh, well, hello there. Welcome back, everyone, to the Arachnoholic. New name, same awesome content, as always. And this is Elsa, my desert blonde, Alphona pelma calcotes, New River rustrump. I'm taking her out for a little walk today. So, I know I've been gone for a couple of weeks now, but I'm back at it again with a new video today. Oh, where are you going? Sorry, she's just a bit curious of her new surroundings, I guess. But as I was saying, I'm back at it with a new video today. So I'm going to be doing something a little different today. I know I've mainly done care sheets on individual species and things of that nature on this channel. But today I'm going to be doing a top 15 favorite tarantulas of mine. And something that I've been working on for quite some time now. And I'm hoping you all enjoy the finished product. So without further ado, let's get going. Yay! Starting off at number 15, we have Somopoeus cambridgei, or the Trinidad chevron. As the name suggests, this tarantula hails from Trinidad. It is an arboreal spider, making its home in tree holes, between leaves, or on other vertical surfaces. While it isn't quite as brightly colored as its more well-known cousin, the Venezuelan sun tiger, the chevron is nonetheless still quite the looker. That mossy green body with the bright orange markings on each tarsi are quite a sight to see. This species gets quite a bit larger than the P. armenia, with females reaching leg spans of up to 7 inches, rivaling some of the larger Old World arboreals. What's intriguing about the entire Somopoeus genus is that despite being New World tarantulas, due to their location, they behave a lot more like Old Worlds, being quite a bit more feisty than your typical New World, and they also lack urticane bristles that the majority of New Worlds have. Their bite packs a bit more of a punch, not medically significant, but still a good deal more potent than, say, a Brachypelma smithi. Bites are reported to be quite painful. P. cambridgei isn't quite as defensive as its sun tiger cousin, but isn't a tarantula I would ever attempt to handle. Mine have always been pretty temperamental and regularly throw threat poses and have struck at my tawns on several occasions while I was doing maintenance in their enclosures. They are also pretty fast, and like Avix, will jump to escape danger. This makes for a great species for those looking to break into Old World tarantulas. Next up, at number 14, we have Alphona pelma calcotes, or the desert blonde. I've covered this tarantula before in one of my videos, and have also successfully bred them, but I just had to include them on this list. Found from Arizona to northern Mexico, this New World terrestrial makes for an excellent first tarantula. Their tannish blonde color gives them a subdued yet still quite attractive appearance, and they are for the most part relatively docile, and one of the few tarantulas that I periodically handle. They are a medium-sized T, and once they reach around 3 inches, are almost always out on display. In short, you cannot go wrong with one of these babies. Next up, we have Avicularia metallica, or the metallic pink toe. Also sold under the names giant metallic pink toe, as well as white toe, these medium to large arboreals at first glance may look almost identical to their cousins Avicularia avicularia. There are a few differences though. For one, this species gets a good bit larger than the common pink toe. In fact, it is among the largest in its genus, but some females reach 6.5 inches in leg span, whereas the common pink toe usually maxes out at around 5 inches. They also lack the red hairs on their abdomen, and their carapace has more of a metallic greenish-blue shine to it. They still have the bright pink foot pads that most pink toe tarantulas possess, but the very tips of these are white, hence why they are sometimes called white toes. Like most pink toes, these are pretty chill, and for an arboreal are on the slower side. They can still be quick, however, when they feel threatened, and are prone to jumping. The Avicularia genus are quite handy as well at using their poop cannons, meaning that they will shoot their feces onto a potential attacker, which could be their owner's hand or face, so be forewarned. Next up is Brachypelma armori/smithy, or the Mexican red knee tarantula. It's a classic, an oldie but a goodie, and with good reason. These guys grow large, are beautifully marked, and are extremely docile. To make things even better, once they reach a certain size, they spend most of their time out in plain sight. These teas can be a tad pricey, with mature females selling for as much as $300 in the US. So while adults may not be the most affordable to many, slings are relatively inexpensive and can be purchased in large quantities. The only downside to this is, like pretty much all of the Brachypelmas, red knees are incredibly slow growing, with females taking up to 10 years or more to mature. Either way, this tarantula is an absolute must-have, no matter your level of experience. Next up, we have Epibopus murinus, or the skeleton tarantula. The platypus of tarantulas, as I like to call them. The entire genus Epibopus features some of the most beautiful and yet unusual species of tarantulas. They start off semi-arboreal as slings, making funnel webs which extend from the ground up. However, as they mature, they become more terrestrial and prefer to burrow. They are pretty stocky in their build and have the form of a typical terrestrial tarantula. However, they have the distinguishable flattened legs of an arboreal. Their burrows are heavily lined with silk, and they include a very interesting trumpet-shaped entrance, which extends above the ground. The tarantula covers these with leaves and debris to better hide it from predators and prey. The featured species here, E. murinus, is my second favorite species in this genus, despite being the cheapest and most common. The cream-colored carapace, and especially those yellow bone-like markings on its legs with the black contrast, is just captivating. I would consider this a medium-speed tarantula. They aren't anywhere near as fast-moving as some of the old worlds, but are a good bit faster than your typical terrestrial, and are also great climbers. They're definitely a high-strung and sometimes defensive species. These do have urticating hairs, however they are located on the bottom of the spider's pedipalps, rather than their abdomen as with most others. A very cool and unique tarantula that really deserves more attention. Next up, we have the C. darlingi, or the rear-horned baboon. Beautiful markings, an excellent webber, and just enough of an attitude to give it a nice touch of spunk. We have one of the most overlooked tarantulas of all time. While the rear-horned baboon is the only member of this genus that I myself have owned, this entire genus is one of the most intriguing. They get their names, of course, from the protrusion on the carapace, which resembles a horn. With this species, the horn curves backwards at an angle, hence why they are called rear-horned baboons. This species reaches roughly 5 inches in leg span, and is one of the better beginner old worlds. Care must still be taken around them, as they are quite fast and will bite if provoked. I admittedly have not done a ton of research as to the venom on this species, but being that it is an old world tarantula, I'd say better safe than sorry, and keep your hands as far away from yours as possible. The spider would probably appreciate that as well. These guys do a lot of webbing and burrowing. However, mine aren't as reclusive as some of the other baboons I've owned, and I do see them out and about fairly often, mostly at nighttime when all the lights are turned off. Overall, this is one tea you do not want to miss out on. Number 9. Lepidoptera diversipes, formerly known as Avicularia diversipes, or the Amazon sapphire pink toe. This is an absolute jewel of an animal. The variety of color this species goes through from each molt is unbelievable. It seems like literally after every single molt, the spider emerges with a new color scheme. Slings can range from bright emerald green to more of a grayish blue with hints of sapphire and a bright pink and blue pattern on the abdomen. As they grow older, the body color fades and becomes more of a brown or black with hints of purple, but the legs still retain the bright striped patterns of the younger stages. Thought to once be a member of the genus Avicularia, these have since been reclassified into their own genus. These tarantulas reach about 5 inches and are quite heavy webbers as well. They are a good deal faster than your typical pink toe, and are also quite spunky. My adult female I once owned would throw threat poses and try to bite my talons on many occasions. Overall, a very underrated tarantula, and undeniably one of the most beautiful. Coming in at number 8, we have Epibopus cyanognathus, or the blue-fanged tarantula. It is such a shame that this species is as reclusive as it is, because this is one beautiful tarantula. A close cousin to the skeleton, the blue-fang reaches a similar size of 4.5 to 5 inches. On slings, the body is a bright emerald green with pink legs, each adorned with a yellow stripe, and the chelicerae are a bright neon blue. As they grow older, the blue fades into a less vibrant, but still quite pretty purple. These are also native to Brazil as well as French Guiana. As I stated before, these are very shy spiders, and once they've established a burrow, they rarely come out. Like all of the members of the Epibopus genus, this tarantula is fast and defensive. They have urticane hairs located on the pedipalps, but seem to prefer either threat posing or biting versus using them. These guys are also somewhat tricky to keep alive in captivity due to the fine balance between humidity and ventilation that they require. All in all, this makes a great intermediate tarantula for those looking to transition into old worlds. Coming in at number 7, we have P. murinus, the Usambara orange baboon, or the OBT as it is infamously known. Often jokingly referred to as the orange bitey thing, and with good reason. These guys are hella angry spiders. The red-orange color coupled with the metallic blue-green sheen on the bottoms of the legs makes them extremely beautiful tarantulas. I've heard some keepers refer to the species as semi-arboreal, and while they do seem to appreciate a little extra height in their enclosures, especially as slings, I'd still consider them more on the terrestrial side myself. Mine have always done a combination of webbing and burrowing in their terrariums, and my god are they crazy webbers, creating some of the most intricate webs I have ever witnessed any tarantula make. They can be reclusive, but mine seem out and about more often than many of my other old worlds. These guys definitely do demand respect though, being that they are super fast and will not hesitate to throw a threat pose or even bite if provoked. From what I've heard, their venom is no joke either. A bite won't kill you, but could land you a trip to the ER, so handle with care. And I didn't mean that literally. Number 6, Heteroskedra maculata, or the Togo starburst baboon. Also known under the common name ornamental baboon, or the ghost baboon as I like to call them, due to the chalky white coloration of the adult females. No collection is complete without one of these tarantulas. This is amongst one of the most venomous of all teas, supposedly being even more potent than the ornamental tarantulas of India and Sri Lanka, but being just behind its close cousin, the feather-leg baboon. As with any tarantula, a bite is not lethal, at least there have never been any recorded deaths from one. But the symptoms include muscle cramps, nausea, vomiting, profuse sweating, racing heart, dizziness, and more. In addition to this, the symptoms have been reported to last for several weeks or more after the initial bite. Now, I say this not to scare anyone out there, but just as a reminder of the respect that this animal deserves. Thankfully, this is not a super duper defensive species, and it would prefer to flee than bite. And my god, are they fast as heck. I thought my P. regalis was fast when I first got her, but I think this one may have her beat. Like the pelma calciatum, this is an arboreal species hailing from West Africa. They are a bit on the reclusive side, not venturing very far from their webs, but when you do get to see them out and about, it is such a sight to behold. Okay, we're getting there. So number 5 is Carabina versicolor, also known as the Martinique or Antilles pink-toed tarantula. A part of me almost wants to call this species overrated, but then I see the color on them and I just immediately retract that statement. Both spiderlings and adults are equally as gorgeous, with the little ones having a bright neon blue color, which eventually turns into a combination of green, pink, and lavender as they mature. Once classified under the genus Versicolor, the species has since been put into its own genus. Native to the island of Martinique, located in the Caribbean, this is a New World arboreal that creates thick tube-shaped webs which they hide inside of. These guys are a tad more skittish than your average pink toe, with some keepers even reporting threat poses from theirs, though mine have never exhibited any sort of defensive behavior. Still, due to their high-strung nature, and also the fact that they're a bit on the fast side, I wouldn't suggest this tarantula for handling. Nevertheless, an absolute classic, and one that is cherished by both beginners and advanced hobbyists alike. Coming in at number 4, we have Somopoeus armenia, or the Venezuelan sun tiger. The more well-known cousin of the Trinidad chevron, the sun tiger doesn't get quite as big, but makes up for this with having a whole lot of attitude. Like all members of the Somopoeus genus, they lack urticane hairs, despite being New World tarantulas. But they make up for it with speed, attitude, and having a slightly more potent venom than your average New World. This is one of my absolute favorites. That jet black coloration with the orange chevron pattern on the abdomen, and those orange lightning bolts on the legs are just mind-blowing. Sadly, this tarantula tends to be very, very shy, spending the majority of its time in its web. Considered semi-arboreal, this T tends to burrow a lot as a sling. However, as it grows, it prefers to climb. They create sort of a web burrow which they attach chunks of substrate to, creating what many hobbyists refer to as dirt curtains. It is theorized that the spider does this in the wild to camouflage its hide from any would-be predators or prey. Number 3 on my top 15 favorite tarantulas list, Postalotheria ornata, or the fringed ornamental. The second largest of the Postalotheria or ornamental tarantulas. This is personally the largest tarantula I have ever owned. Females of the species can reach up to a 9-inch leg span, although 8 inches tends to be more common. Still, a humongous freaking spider. Like all of these Postalotheria or pokies, as us spider nuts like to call them, they have a very leggy build, and despite being so large, can move very fast when they want to. The ornata is native to Sri Lanka. The genus Postalotheria are reportedly amongst the most venomous of all Ts, just being behind the Heteroskedra maculata and the pelma calciatum, and their venom is considered medically significant. Thankfully, they are not overly defensive and do prefer flight over fight. The fringed ornamental is reported to have somewhat stronger venom and have a bit more of an attitude than other pokies, so extra caution is definitely advised when dealing with this one. Like the Somopoeus genus of South America, pokies create a thick layer of webbing, usually between their hide and the glass of their enclosure, which they decorate with substrate for camouflage. This is one T that will really wow guests. Coming in at numero dos, we have pelma cyanognathus, or the green bottle blue. Any Gators fans out there? What can I really say about this tarantula besides the fact that it is just captivating? The colors almost seem unreal. Native to Venezuela, the green bottle blue, or GBB, makes its home in the arid desert region of the country, where it spins extremely thick and intricate tube webs between cacti and other foliage. In captivity, they tend to exhibit arboreal tendencies when young, and as they grow older, prefer to stick closer to the ground. Slings start off with a gold carapace, pinkish legs, and a tiger-striped pattern on the abdomen. As they mature, the gold carapace is replaced with a neon blue-green, the legs become bright iridescent blue, and they eventually lose the tiger stripes on the abdomen. This species is somewhat quick, and while they're slow compared to some of the old world tarantulas, they are capable of extreme short bursts of speed that may take an inexperienced keeper by surprise, so I don't advise handling one. Plus, they are quite handy with the urticating hairs. This is by far my favorite tarantula to feed, because they put on such a show. I've witnessed my slings take on and overpower prey that is as large as they are. This tea almost made it to the #1 spot on my list, but even it does not measure up to this next one, at least on my list. Number 1, the Postalotheria regalis, or the Indian ornamental tarantula. So, before I begin, I'm sure lots of you are wondering why the P. metallica is not on this list. And the simple answer to that question is, well, I've never owned one. I've always wanted to, but they're a little bit out of my budget. But perhaps someday. This tea does hold a really special place though in my heart, being that it was my first old world species that I had ever owned. Native to the monsoon rainforests of southern India, the Indian ornamental makes its home inside tree holes. It is amongst one of the largest arboreal tarantulas, with females attaining leg spans of 7 to 8 inches. The markings on these guys are just jaw-dropping, and almost look like they were airbrushed onto the spider's body. Like all pokies, the front 2 pairs of legs are a bright lemon yellow on the bottoms, with black bands, which are displayed whenever the spider goes into a threat pose. The bright coloration is likely to warn potential predators of its powerful venom. The regalis can be distinguished from other similar looking pokies by the pink band on its belly. I've heard of some collectors having mild success keeping these tarantulas communally, but have never attempted so myself. Plus, these are pretty expensive tarantulas, so even the small possibility of them deciding to cannibalize one another just does not seem at all worth it to me. Like all the pokies, the Indian ornamental is not necessarily a defensive tea, but it will bite if cornered. It is still high-strung, can move very, very fast, and has powerful venom, so caution is advised when opening the enclosure to do any sort of maintenance. In case you already can't tell how much I adore this tarantula, I actually have one tattooed on my arm. So there we have it, folks, my top 15 favorite tarantula species, at least for now. Please, if you enjoyed this video, make sure to like, subscribe, comment. If you agree with my list, if you disagree with my list, it's always a pleasure to hear from you guys. And as always, stay awesome.